Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. Let's begin with the threads. Again, today there will be concepts. I think today and tomorrow there will be concepts. From Monday onwards, we will be beginning with the programs. So let us begin. Yeah. Is this visible for you?
Ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
think in the last class we had stopped at this slide where we were talking about less overhead, high overhead, and context switching is less expensive in threads compared to context switching in processes. So let me talk about that and then we'll go ahead with that. Okay. So how this context switching is less expensive in threads. So the name only suggests a lightweight process. Thread is a lightweight process. When we tell lightweight process, the associated data to be saved before switching to the another thread will be very less compared to a process as a whole. A process as a whole will have more amount of data to be restored before switching to the next function. Okay. So in that manner, since thread being the lightweight process having a lesser amount of data to be restored in the context switching, the expense of context switching is low compared to the processes. Okay. Then what about the sharing the same address space and having the separate address space? Okay, process or a function, when we talk about a function or a process will have its own address space available. For a particular process, different threads are spawned. For a particular process, different threads are spawned. Okay, uh, guys, just 1 minute, I'll pause. Yeah, sorry for that. Okay, so address space about this, there is something called as thread pool and all. We will have a separate discussion on it. So right now, I'll be leaving this last point for the future reference. Okay, we will go ahead with the next thing. So Java thread model. I think these things we have talked about before, but very important thing that we are talking about is something called as preemption and non-preemption. Okay, so that we will discuss after we go ahead with what is called as thread states. Okay, so whenever we take a thread, a particular thread, that particular thread, sorry, that particular thread has different states as depicted in the diagram. Okay, as depicted in the diagram. So you can just see, Arey, what is happening? Just 1 minute. Yeah. Huh. Okay, we have something called as thread states. Okay, here you can see in the diagram, there are different states shown, and there is a state diagram or there is a flow chart which shows about how the thread states are changing. Okay, you just I will just explain this whole slide with a kind of flow chart or flow in which I want to explain to you. Okay, say let me think that I have a process running. In that process, there are multiple sub parts available. Okay, for example, uh, one process having a data read from the user. Parallelly parallelly there is something called as constants getting defined, and then after these two are done, then there is a computation happening. That computation needs to print somewhere. Okay, suppose this is the overall process going on. There is somewhere reading of the data from the user, there is defining of constants, and then using these two there is some computation, then the printing is on the console as well as to a file. Okay, you just imagine this particular context available. What is that? You are reading, you are defining the constant, then computing something. After the computation, the computed value printed on the screen as well sent to the file. Suppose this is the available scenario. In this case, for reading in the data, I require one thread. I require one thread. Okay, because that is an independent process, independent task. When I am reading in the data, parallelly the constants can be defined. Parallelly the constants can be defined. But can I do the computation as well as reading parallelly? I cannot do. They are very much dependent. So I can have two threads running, one thread reading from the user, another thread defining the constants. When these two are done, I need a thread, one thread which does the computation. After this computation is done, it has to write onto the console window as well as to the file. So both can be done parallelly. Are you getting the point what I'm trying to tell? What is being shown here is, for the first two tasks, two independent threads are happening parallelly. Okay, for the middle task, that is the computation part, it requires one thread, and this middle part cannot happen before the first two are done. Once these are done, printing has to be done, and again that has to be done parallelly. So two parallel threads are running. Okay, in doing so, what all things I require? When I'm reading the data from the user, I require a thread. That thread gets associated with input devices. Okay, that gets connected to the input device. And another thread gets associated with the internal memory or the memory where the data is available, the constants are available. From there, it has to fetch. So these two first have to be created, and that state of the thread is called as newborn state. Actually, threads are not created from scratch. Threads are already available in what is called as thread pool. Again, I am telling you that I will be discussing afterwards. So, one among the available threads are picked, that becomes a newborn thread. I call it as newborn thread because it doesn't have right now any task associated. Okay, on this newborn thread, when I call a start method is available in Java. When I call with reference to the object of the new thread, the start method, it goes into what is called as active state. What is this active state? Active state can be divided into two subparts. One called the one which is running right now, which is under execution. Active thread can be either the thread which is under execution, or active thread can be a thread which is ready to run but it doesn't have the processor. Processor is most important for running anything. Okay, so what I will tell about active thread is, Active thread can be of two ways. One, the one which is under execution. See, as soon as it is born, it calls the start method, immediately it starts running. The other way, it has started, but it is trying to call the run method, but it is not able to run because right now the processor is busy. So where it has to sit? It has to sit in what is called as runnable queue. You can just see this. This is called as runnable queue, or I call also as ready queue. Queue, when I tell, it is first come first serve basis, FCFS algorithm, okay, or FIFO algorithm. So all the ready process tasks threads are sitting in what is called as runnable or ready queue. Those threads are ready to run, but they don't have the processor. When do they get the turn? When the running thread ends. When the running thread ends. Okay. So here I have three states of thread. First state talks about newborn thread. It is born or it is picked from the thread pool. But has it been assigned with any task? No. Until and unless a start function is called on the newborn thread, it will not continue to be active thread. It is just a started thread. It is just a newborn thread. Once the start method is called on that thread, that will go into what is called as active state. That active state can be either directly running state or a runnable state. Runnable state is usually called as waiting queue, or it is usually called as ready queue. Okay, so inside this you can see Inside this, you can see there is something called as yield, there is something called as schedule. About this yield, I will talk about later. Okay. So right now, you just think that there are the I have discussed about three states of the thread now. What is the first one? Newborn, and second is active state. In that active state, two sub states. One is running state or ready state. Okay. Then whenever the running state thread ends its task, it just notifies by calling yield. It calls yield method, and that yield signal goes to the ready queue. And whoever is sitting ahead, that gets picked and put to the processor. So who is more important here? Which is the most important resource availability? Processor. Once the processor becomes available, any ready state thread which is having either a higher priority or which is ahead of the queue, which is next in turn, that gets picked and it gets scheduled. It gets scheduled. When it gets scheduled, it enters from runnable state to running state. Any doubt up to this point? You can chat also, guys. No, right? Can I proceed ahead? Okay. Now, um, when this yield is called in detail, we will discuss in the next class. Okay. Now, after this active state, so either it can be in the ready state or it can be in the running state. Now, you just imagine the scenario which I have given. You just imagine that scenario back. What is that scenario speaking? It talks about two things happening parallelly. What is that? One, reading from the user, another, defining the constants. Defining the constants may become very quick because it is fetching from the memory. It becomes faster. But the user input, another task that is going on parallelly, another thread is assigned to it. That particular task is taking time because it may so happen that the user who is entering the input is sleeping. He or she has not entered the input. So who has to wait? The thread which has fetched already the constants has to wait. That comes into picture what is called as wait or suspend or sleep. There are three different ways in which you can block yourself. A thread can block itself using three different methods. One called the suspend, another called the sleep, another called the wait. What is the difference between these two? When it calls sleep, sleep is the simplest way of doing it. Okay. When it calls sleep, sleep is always associated with certain amount of time duration. Sleep has a parameter time in milliseconds. So whenever a thread calls sleep, it has to tell with the sleep function, these many number of milliseconds I want to go for sleep until the other thread becomes active. Okay, sleep is the simplest way of doing. What it does, the object of the thread dot sleep of 1000, of 2000, of 10,000, whatever it wants to, those many milliseconds that thread will go to sleep. Second one, what is that second? It tries to call suspend on itself. Suspend on itself. When it calls suspend, it cannot come back automatically. Whereas in sleep, soon after the timeout, it will come back to active state automatically. But in case of suspend, it will not come automatically to the active state. Instead, it requires what is called as calling of resume. So all the suspended threads can be resumed, can be made active only by calling resume on that particular thread. Otherwise, it will not come back. So this is a major difference between sleep and suspend. Sleep has a timer associated. Soon after the timeout, the thread which was sleeping, which was resting, waiting for somebody else to complete, that will come back to active state. What about suspend? Suspend will be nullified only after the resume is called. Otherwise, it will still be in what is called as blocked state. It is not the dead state. Thread is there, but it is inactive. It is waiting for something else. Then the third way is wait. This wait acts in different ways. Sometimes we call wait with milliseconds. Wait for this time. Or sometimes there is a requirement of what is called as notify function. There is something also called as notify all. Two different methods are there, either notify or notify all. Notify does the currently waiting thread or recently waiting thread that gets notified. Come on, you have to get up. Notify all does what? All the waiting threads, all those who had called wait will get activated. Okay, so three are totally different. One is called sleep. Sleep is associated with timeout. Wait requires notify, suspend requires resume. In all these three cases, from the active state, the thread will go to what is called as blocked state. This is called the third state of thread. Okay, so when it enters blocked state, whenever an active thread calls either wait, sleep or suspend, active thread comes to what is called as block state. And when it has to come to block state, only when a thread is waiting for some other thread to complete. Only then it will enter into what is called as blocked state. Then there is a common movement from all the three states that is called as stop. When you want to stop, when you call the stop method on a particular thread object, it will go into what is called as dead state. Dead state meaning of that is the thread right now which was used by me is being released into the thread pool. That particular thread is available for you for some other task. That is the meaning of it. Okay, what is that you have not understood in this? Or you have understood everything?
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yeah, Aditi.
About the dead, when it reaches dead, can you elaborate more on that?
Yeah, when it reaches the dead state, in the dead state, the thread that was used by me, See, always anything in Java, because Java is object oriented, anything in Java is an object. Okay. That particular object with which I was doing the task, that particular object gets released. It means what? That name is no more useful for me. That object name is no more useful for me. In the sense that the thread that was associated with that name, that will go and sit where? That will go and sit into what is called as a thread pool. It is a pool of threads, pool of user level threads available in any operating system. There is something called as kernel level thread. There is something called as user level thread. So those threads are freed threads. They don't have any task associated. So next time the same thread can be, I don't know whether the same thread will be picked or not, but it will go into what is called as available threads. Okay, but the name next time assigned to that thread may vary, because user doesn't know whether the same thread got associated or some other thread got associated, because always the instance is important, object is not important. Yes, Aditi.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Any doubt in the whole of the flow diagram? Okay, somebody has asked me a question. What is it, Irana, what is the difference between suspend and wait? Okay, see, do you know the difference between suspending a class and waiting for the class? What is the meaning of suspending something? For a while, I don't want to do that. I just want to make sure that that happens after 1 hour. Okay. I on my own, on my own, thread on my own, or thread on its own, what it tells is, I don't want to continue with this task right now. I want to suspend myself and I want to allow somebody else to do the processing right now. I just want to take a rest, sit back and relax, because there is a lot of requests coming from the user end to me. I cannot digest all those things. So I'll suspend myself and revert back afterwards. This is called suspension. Wait is when a thread is reading something, when a thread is reading something, another thread is writing. Another thread is writing. Two threads are dependent. In such case, the first thread which was reading has to wait for the second thread to complete. Has to wait for the second thread to complete. This is called dependency waiting or waiting for IO. Waiting for IO. Okay, waiting for some other task to complete. This is called wait. Suspend is forcible suspension. I don't want to do this right now because it is overburdening. So that is called suspend. Wait is waiting for one task to complete and then go ahead. Any doubt, Iranda? Am I clear? Yeah. Okay. Then when suspended, you are supposed to use resume. When you are waiting, you have to use what is called as notify. And for sleep, there is no explicit revert back function, because soon after the timeout, the thread gets back to the active state. So in total, I have new thread, I have active thread, I have blocked or idle thread, and then the dead thread, or the dead thread, or the stopped thread. Okay, so can I proceed ahead? Okay, we will speak about something called as thread priorities. So even when you are doing your tasks, you will have your own priorities. Look, I have to attend to this class. I can skip this class. This class is not important. Can I attend the next class? Something like that. You can have prioritization in anything that you do. In the same manner, threads also have priorities. Thread also have priorities. So when we talk about thread priorities, um, many a times thread priorities are fixed. Like if I create any new thread, like the previous slide, newborn thread, any newborn thread, if you have not assigned any priority to it explicitly, then it will have by default what is called as default priority. What is the value of it? We will see it ahead. But any thread which you want to make it highlighted, which is more important than anything else, then you have to have something called as assignment of priorities. Okay, so normally the operating system does like this. Whenever multiple things are running, out of those it checks each thing's priority by calling some function called as get priority function. Get priority returns the priority of that task. It takes the task's priority and compares them. Whichever is more higher priority, that will be put with more load. Means it has to be run fast. So for that reason, the priorities are crucial. Okay, let's go ahead with that. So all these theoretical steps, I'll just navigate. So context switching becomes very much easier if you have priorities. Like from where to where I have to switch, which thread I have to suspend, or which thread I have to make it wait, or which thread has to sleep before completing which thread. So from this to this, I will jump back to this. So that becomes much convenient. Or choosing of the next thread to be running. Priorities are more crucial. Okay, very important note that I am writing here. Any thread when getting created, this I spoken about at the beginning of this slide. Any thread that starts its journey has a default priority, and that default priority value is 5. So thread priority ranges from 1 to 10. 10 being the highest priority, 1 being the lowest priority. Lower the value, lower the priority. Higher the value, higher the priority. Don't think otherwise. 1 in general terms always means first. That is not the case. 1 indicates lower priority, lowest priority. Max priority, see the things that I have written over here. You can see max underscore priority, min underscore priority. Okay, all these are default constants available in the package. Okay, there is some question from, I think, Aditi. Ma'am, why should a newborn thread directly execute stop and go to dead state? Okay, she has a question here. I'll just go back by one slide. She is asking, why should I go directly from here to here? Okay, see, imagine I have created a thread thinking that I require that thread. Say for example, for the instance that I have given, reading the data from the user, assigning the constants, both are happening parallelly. But in doing so, by mistake, while programming, I have created the third thread. Whether that third thread is required right now, it is not required. It doesn't have any task to do. So simply what it does, what I will do is I will stop that thread. So there has to be a possibility for a newborn thread to go back to pool. I have called it for some work, but that work is not available. So it has to go back to the pool, thread pool. That possibility or that opportunity has to be given for a thread. That's why this is available. That's why it is available. Am I clear, Aditi? Yeah. Okay. So about this I was speaking. These are the constants that are available. One is called max priority, another called as min priority. When we start with the program writing, all these things are available in the programs. Okay, let's go ahead next. Okay, certain rules for these thread priorities. Okay, there are two ways in which I can talk about context switching. See, in the thread life cycle also we have seen a thread can call wait, a thread can call suspend, a thread can call sleep. Okay, so by its own or on its own calling sleep, suspend or wait on its own, It is called as non-preemptive. I think in operating system you have come across this. Okay, how that non-preemptive happens means I have completed my task and I have to wait for somebody else to complete, so I'll call on my own wait. This is called non-preemptive. This is called non-preemptive. But there is something else also. That something else is called as preemptive. Before I go into that, let me just read out this particular statement. So what is that? Voluntarily relinquish control means voluntarily. Right now, I will tell that, see, I am done with my task. My next task is at the 20th second. So for 20 seconds, I have to wait. During that time, come on, somebody out of you can use this 20 seconds to do your work. That kind of giving right, my right to somebody else, is called as yielding. I'll repeat. One thread is running. It is having a processor also. Under the processor, it is using the processor to run its task. But during this time, it has completed its task right now. And it also knows that after 20 more seconds, it will get back the data that it wants. So for these 20 seconds, should it hold the processor and waste the time of others? No. Instead, what it does, it tells somebody else, look, these 20 seconds, I'm not using the processor. You can use it. So I am yielding the processor for somebody else. This is called voluntarily relinquishing the control, or I am on my own giving the control to somebody else. That is called as yielding. Okay, when you go back by 2 slides, you have seen that yield method. You have seen that yield method over here. Okay, on its own, a thread can call yield on some other thread. Okay, it can give the control to somebody else on its own, or it can sleep for now because it is waiting for somebody else, or blocking on pending IO. Why? Either it can call wait, or it can suspend totally. Okay, all these are voluntary. But there is something else called as preemptive. What is this preemptive? One thread is running right now. It is doing its task. It has its default priority of 5. But now there is a request from HOD. Just now I received a call. Okay, that is of high priority because HOD called me. Okay, when there is a priority, this particular thread which is running, it is pushed back by whom? The higher priority thread. This is called as preemption. Preempt, to stop somebody from working, though it is right now working. The other thread, the first thread which was running, is already in the running state. But even though it is in the running state, some other thread which has come that tells that I have more important tasks than you, just go back. So what this currently running thread will do? It takes in two ways. Either it blocks itself by calling suspend, wait, or sleep, or it can go to something called as runnable state by calling yield. So soon after this high priority thread completes, it comes back to ready state, or it will be in the blocked state, and then from there to running state, and then to the runnable state. So this is the difference between voluntarily suspending and something called as preemptive suspending. So for such things, what is required? For such things, we require what is called as thread priorities. Any doubt till now? Any doubts till now? If no, I will proceed. Okay. So you may ask me a question. If a thread is available that is of lower priority, a higher priority thread comes, then obviously lower priority is pushed back. You just imagine a thread is running of priority 7, a new thread coming in is also of priority 7. Equal priorities. So can this new thread push back this old thread? It cannot, because both are having equal priority. So how to handle that? OS or operating system has that also available. How? If two threads running, more than one thread running, are having equal priority, then it applies what is called as round robin algorithm. Both threads take turns after certain time duration. So this is how the thread priorities are coming into picture. Any doubt? The next slide speaks about that. Any doubts till now? No. So I will proceed ahead. So next part is very important. From this slide onwards, the programming begins. Okay. Till now, I have not spoken about synchronization, thread synchronization. I have not spoken about. I'll be speaking about after I complete simple programs on threads. Okay. So functions in thread class. Everything is a class, you know already. Just have a look at this. Start method, already it has been shown in the state diagram. Okay. The flow diagram of the life cycle of thread. Already it has been shown. What this does? Its task is to tell the thread that you are moving from newborn state to ready state. And whenever start is called, internally it invokes one more method that is called as run method. Whenever that particular thread comes directly to the running state instead of runnable state. When a newborn thread, on a newborn thread, start is called, it enters into running state. That entering into running state, there is a calling of run method from the start method. It means what? You are not calling explicitly run method. Start itself initiates the signal to the run method. So they are intricate. One start and run are interdependent. Run is dependent on start. Whenever you call the start method in your program, internally it calls run method. So what is this run method? What is this runnable interface? We will see in the next class. And whenever you create a thread, you can assign a name to it. Why do I need to assign any name? It becomes convenient to call with the name. Instead of calling T1, T2, T3, T4, T5, T6, you can give a name. Reading thread, printing thread, the thread which is taking the user input thread, okay, console thread, something like that. You can set a name for the created thread using the function called set name. And as I have told, when you create any new thread, you can set the priority for it. By default, if you don't set any priority, the thread will have 5 as the priority. There is something called as set daemon. This daemon thread, it is nothing but the background thread. What is the meaning of that? In the background, I'll be working. You have checked background processes when you are working on it. So we will see one program on this when we are doing the programs in Java. Okay, set daemon or daemon thread. We will definitely have a program on this. If this boolean is true, then the thread becomes a daemon thread. What is the meaning of this? The thread becomes a background thread, not a foreground thread. It will not be visible to me. In the background, it will be doing its task. When do I make a thread as daemon? When should I not make the thread as daemon? We will see it when we see the example. Then there is something called as join method. In the previous slide, you have seen there is something called as preemption. Okay, there is something called as preemption. This preemption is nothing but explicit telling. Stop it. Okay. So there was something called as yield also previously. Yield is voluntarily telling. Similarly, join also is one such thing which makes sure that one thread suspends itself or stops itself and gives the task to another. So it is called as synchronization. It is called explicit synchronization. I think guys right now you will not understand this very much. When we take up the examples, you will understand this. Okay. Join is used for synchronization, thread synchronization. So you have heard of mutex in operating system, monitors. You have heard of? Can anybody comment, guys? You have heard of mutex, right? So that mutex is a lock. Without the acquiring of that lock, if I want to achieve synchronization, then join method is used. Without any, yes, semaphores, correct. You are right, Bhagya. So semaphores, there we talk about something called acquiring of lock, leaving the lock. Okay, that lock concept is not there, but even then I want to achieve synchronization. Then I use something called as join. Okay, we'll take up the examples on this whenever in the next week classes. There is something called as interrupt. So this is merely a signal coming from the preemptive thread to a thread which is running right now. So it's a signal. This method is sent as a signal to a thread which is running by a higher priority thread. Okay, preemption is done using this interrupt function call. There is something called as is alive. I have written some thousands of lines of code and I don't remember read thread which I had created. Have I ended that life or it is still available? I don't remember before using it, before assigning any task to it. So I can check it using is alive. It returns me boolean, yes or no. Next, there are few static functions. What are the static functions? Return type is static. Okay. So yield is one such method. I have discussed enough about it, so I'll not discuss it again. There is something called sleep. Enough of discussion is done. Holds lock will come into picture in semaphores, where mutex is used. Okay, where explicit locking is used. Then there is something called as current thread. See, I have 10 threads running, 10 threads running parallelly. Out of those 10 threads, which thread right now is active? Which thread right now is occupying the processor? That I want to know. And I can know it by using what is called as current thread. It returns either the object of the thread or it tries to tell the name of the thread. It prints me the name of the thread. Okay. Then there is something called as dump stack. Okay. This fine. Have you run any program in Eclipse or NetBeans? Eclipse or NetBeans? You have run any simple Java program in Eclipse or NetBeans? Whenever you run, sometimes exception occurs or some error occurs. So it will print some 6 to 7 lines of data which is not understandable by you. Okay, that is called as trace. I call it as stack trace. With reference to that particular error, those much of details are available in the stack, in that particular error stack. So all those things are dumped here. Whether you'll come to know or you'll not come to know, that doesn't matter. Everything that is available in the stack gets popped out and it is just filled in front of you. So if you want to know all the details of the thread, then what is called as dump stack is used. So it will print you the whole lot of information about the currently running thread. So if you call current thread dot dump stack, so it will print you all the related information of the currently running thread. Okay, any doubts you have in these functions? See guys, I have given you only overview of these functions, not in depth. Start calls run automatically. Run you're not calling explicitly. Set name is to assign name for a thread that you have created. Set priority to assign the priority of the thread. Similarly, you have something called as get priority available, which returns an integer. Then there is something called set daemon. If you want to make a thread a background thread, you can use set daemon of true with reference to that thread's object. Then there is something called as join. It is explicit synchronization without using any locking technique. Then there is something called as interrupt. This signal or this function initiates whenever a higher priority thread interrupts the lower priority thread. Then there is something called as is alive, which returns me true or false for a particular thread with which it is called, whether the thread is active or blocked or newborn, it returns true. If it is dead, then it will return false. Then there is something called as yield. Yield is explicit giving away of its priority. Right now I don't have any work, you can go ahead, something like that. Giving the a chance to somebody else explicitly. Sleep, I have completed my task, I will sleep for a while, come back. Holds lock. Holds lock, this is with reference to semaphores or synchronization. The thread which has the lock available, only that thread can run. Others have to get back. Then there is something called as current thread, which gives me the information of the currently running thread. There is something called dump stack, which gives me whole lot of information about the currently running thread. Okay. Any doubt till now? No, right? So can I proceed ahead?